Hello everyone and welcome back to the In the Saddle podcast for our Dublin Racing special. On this week's edition we've got Katie Midwinter as we're going to be previewing all the Grade 1 action, and we'll also as well be speaking about our other fancies on the card, and also as well a couple of other mentions for some of the other races going on this weekend, the likes of Sandown and Musselburgh. But Katie, before we get into the racing, how are things with you? You're actually going to be going over, aren't you, with our very own Liz as well for the weekend?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. There's lots of great horses out on show. Looking forward to seeing the rematch between Galloping de Champs and Fast or Slow, especially. 2 days of great action in Dublin. What more could you want?
Yeah, exactly. This is always one of the best meetings of the year, and it's definitely something I would like to do one day, get out to Ireland, still get to go, but hopefully it'll happen soon. But enough of that, let's get into the action then. The first race we're going to look at is the 120 at Leopardstown. It's the Nathaniel Lacey and Partners Solicitors Novices Hurdle. It's a Grade 1 over 2 miles and 6.5 furlongs. Predators Gold is your favourite at 7-4. We then got Loughlin at 7-2. Jatara next in 9-2, I Will Be Bay 11-2, Stella Story 10-1, and Dancing City is the outsider 20-1. Casey, I'll come to you here first. Predators Gold's got that form behind Caldwell Potter last time out. He is going to have to improve a little bit though. You'd have to think. I didn't think his stamina was necessarily guaranteed here.
I think he's shaped like a 3-miler. I've actually backed him for the Albert Bartlett anti-post. I just loved the way he stayed on in really testing conditions behind Caldwell Potter in the Future Champions Novices Hurdle. That was over 2 miles, but he previously won over further, and I think that proved his stamina to me, especially in that testing conditions of that race as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him step up in trip. I think it will definitely suit him. The extra couple of furlongs again at Cheltenham, I think it will be right up his street. Of course, he has got to prove it here first. But I think he holds a leading chance. Willie seems like well stacked in the middle distance department. Ballyburn looks to have a leading chance in the Bearing Bingham or the Ballymore. So I think like the Albert Bartlett and the step up in trip, it seems like it would be more suited to him. And there's been plenty of confidence in the market, which just further instills my confidence in him. But wherever he was going to go, I was keen to stick with him after his second place over Christmas. And I think this is the perfect race for him as a stepping stone to hopefully Cheltenham Festival glory.
Okay, fair enough. I can definitely see your angle with him there, but for me, I would want to go with something that's actually got a little bit more proven stamina, and that's Loughlin. Probably butchered the pronunciation there. Patrick Mullins booked here. He's currently 7-2. I just thought that they should be a little bit closer together in the betting. He won a Grade 2 hurdle last time we saw him at Limerick. I know they did maybe go a little bit slowly that day, but I still thought he won well, and he's got some good form next to his name. If you go back through his bumpers, I just think there's quite a lot to like about him, and I think if it does if they come up alongside each other the final hurdle, I do think that Loughlin might just have the stamina edge. I just am a little bit concerned. It's gone from 2 miles here to 2 miles 6.5. I know he has done 2.5 miles Predators Gold, but I just thought he was maybe a little bit short. So I am going to go with Loughlin, but Katie's going to go with Predators Gold. We then move on to the 150, which is the McCann Fitzgerald Spring Juvenile Hurdle, another Grade 1. Here, Stormheart is your favourite at 6-4. Margeborough next in at 13-2. Carla Conti at 7-1, along with Caggies. Bunting 10-1. High Winds 10-1. And bigger are the rest. Katie, it seems like again we've got a very warm Willie Mullins favourite. Probably be saying that quite a lot on this podcast. Stormheart, he's 6-4. What did you make of him?
Yeah, I really like him as well. I'm sorry to be a bit boring this evening with yet another Willie Mullins favourite for Gigginstown, Paul Townend on board, but I just loved the way he finished out his race at Punchestown. He looked pretty special, and I'd want to stick with him wherever he goes, really. He still looked quite raw, and you could see he was inexperienced, so you'd expect that there'd be plenty more to come from him, which is really exciting. But on the rest of them, I mean, it's quite a deep race in terms of these juveniles. There's a lot in here that could improve plenty and are quite unexposed. Like Margeborough has been well spoken about by Willie Mullins, and and connections. So you'd expect that he could run really well. I like Carla Conti last time out. I think she's a filly on the up. But there is one in here that I will just give a shout out to each way. I think he's a big price, and it's Ethical Diamond. Again for Willie Mullins, but he's around a 40-1 shot with Michael O'Sullivan booked to ride. He cost 320,000 guineas. In July, he was touted as being a potential Melbourne Cup hope in future and a dual-purpose horse. But he was quite disappointing on his debut for Willie Mullins, and I don't think the heavy ground suited him on that occasion. So I think he's worth forgiving. Like whether or not he'll be able to match up to the quality a few of the others in this field have shown, I'm not quite sure. But on better ground, I think he's going to be worth watching in future, and I'll probably have quite a saver on him because 40-1 is a huge price for a horse with that profile. So he'll be one maybe just to keep an eye on. But I was just so taken by Stormheart last time out. I just really think he could be special. So I'm firmly in his camp.
Okay, it's going to be Stormheart for Katie. Yeah, I can see why he's the top of the betting. You know, he won well last time, but so have a few of these, to be fair. And obviously he is the choice of Paul Tannen, but I wouldn't be at all surprised to see some of other Willie's horses get in the mix here. Carla Conte, I think, is interesting. She gets the allowance as well, along with Cargeese. So they're definitely a couple I'll be keeping an eye on. Bunting as well. There's been a few people speaking about him. Have to respect him. And even in Lotto, you know, I thought he was quite good when he won here over course and distance at Christmas for the double green. So I do think, it's definitely going to be an interesting race. I personally wouldn't have a bet in the race. I just think Stormheart, you know, I'm prepared to leave him at 6-4 to win. If he fair play to him, if he does go and win. But like I said, I think there are a few in here that are interesting, that could maybe outrun their odds. The one horse that I would keep an eye on, it's not going to be for today, but maybe could be a Boodles horse, and that is Jose Partir for Martin Brazil. We've seen these connections pull off a lot of handicap punts at Cheltenham, and I think this one, it's fair to say, might be given another quiet ride. If you go back and watch him last time out, he actually ran in the race that Carla Conte won. He was beaten 9 lengths on that occasion, but he was never really put into the race. I just think that they're searching for a mark. They're running him in these better races just to gauge how good he is. I'm hoping that they do go to the Boodles with him, because I do think that on one or two bits of his form he would have a chance there, but obviously it depends what mark he gets. But yeah, he's one I would keep an eye on, because I wouldn't be at all surprised if he did end up at Cheltenham in that race. So yeah, one to keep an eye on, Jose Partir. So we move on now away from the juvenile hurdle to the 225 to the Goffs Irish Arkle Novices Chase. Grade 1, Marine Nationale is your favourite 4-9 odds on. We've then got Facile Vega next in at 5-1, Founder 50 8s, Ilay Thompson 20s, Charger 40s, and Sanikia at 150-1. Katie, I think the big talking point about this race today is that there's no Gaelic Warrior. We're not going to have that clash between him and Marine Nationale. I'm a little bit disappointed by that. I have to be honest with you. I wanted to see the match, because I just think, even though Marine Nationale has done nothing wrong, it was a very impressive chase debut last time out. I think people were just getting a little bit carried away, and it would have been great to see a horse like Gaelic Warrior that looks a bit like an aeroplane take him on, and they go head to head. A little bit of a shame we haven't got that edge. But overall, what did you think on the race?
It is a little bit. I was a bit disappointed initially, because I kind of had it in my head that Gaelic Warrior could maybe go for the Arkle at Cheltenham instead of the Turners. So I expected maybe to see him here, and if he ran a big race and won, or at least went close, I thought maybe that he could be the one for Willie Mullins in the Arkle come March. But I think we still have a good matchup here. You know, Facile Vega, it's hard for me because I'm a big fan of this horse, and I think he's had plenty of unwarranted criticism throughout his career. But it's clear how much Willie Mullins thinks about him, and how much connections do as well. And I think you can forgive him his run at Leopardstown over Christmas. I have to say, in that race, I was quite impressed with Founder 50, because he's did everything wrong, really, but still won well. He kept jumping to his right, and he was putting Vega off a bit, so I think you can forgive him that. But obviously, going back to the Supreme form, well, Marine Nationale is the one to beat here, and Vega does have to improve if he's going to reverse the form. I would have preferred to have seen Vega make a step up in trip, because I'm just not sure he has the speed over this trip to beat a horse like Marine Nationale. I thought he was foot perfect on his chasing debut, and he hasn't really been tested over fences yet. But it is an opportunity for him to be tested here. So I do think Vega is going to shape into a better chaser than he was a hurdler. And it does put him a little bit closer to Marine Nationale in terms of that Supreme form. But it'll be good to see the matchup once again. And I think it is a sign of intent that Willie Mullins has put him in this race, rather than go for the further race. So I'd have some confidence that Vega will go close at least and put in a better performance than he did last time. But I'm still, even though I'm a big fan of his, I'm finding it hard to see him reversing form in Marine Nationale. So it's probably not a race I have a bet in. I'm sure I'll enjoy it, and I'll be cheering Vega on. But Marine Nationale has looked pretty special, so it's going to take a really good one to beat him.
Yeah, I probably just agree with you from the fact that we really haven't got that much to take him on. I do think Founder 50 is interesting, and we do know he does have a little bit of stamina for further if it does become a bit of a test and a battle between the two going up the straight. We know that he will find, because he does stay a little bit further. But I do think, like you say, Katie, Marine Nationale, he's the class act of the race. I think you're right as well about Vega stepping up in trip. We obviously know his dam Vega was very good over 2.5 miles, and I do think he's crying out for the step up in trip. And as I said at the start of when we previewed this race, I was hoping that Vega was going to run in the 2 mile 5 race we'll be previewing shortly on Sunday, and Gaelic Warrior will come here. But that's what it is. But Marine Nationale, probably hard to oppose, but it would be nice to see something give him a run for his money, just to add a little bit more competitiveness to the Arkle division. But hey, hopefully we get a really good race on Saturday afternoon. We're now going to move on to the 3:35 for the Paddy Power Irish Gold Cup Chase. Only 4 runners, but we've got the rematch we wanted. It's Galopin de Champs. He's your 4-9 odds-on favourite. We've then got Fast or Slow next in the bet at 3-1, Conflate at 12-1, Iron Maximus the outsider at 40-1. Katie, Galopin de Champs, is this the time where he's going to make it too?
I think so. I'm a big fan of Galopin, and he's pretty special on his day. He's pretty much unbeatable on his day, isn't he? Fast or Slow is beating him twice at Punchestown. Different conditions, different track. I think Galopin de Champs will be winning this, and he'll be going very close at Cheltenham as well. The only horse I see giving him a run for his money at Cheltenham, if he's on a going day, is Shishkin. And I think, although this is a really good matchup, and it is that unknown, because Galopin does have to reverse the form. I just see Galopin winning, and the performance that he put in last time out at Leopardstown, it was just absolutely incredible. I'm sure you'll agree, and if he can do anything like that again here, then it's going to be pretty impossible to beat him, I'd say.
Yeah, I've kind of come round in the end. At first, I was quite sceptical about the form of the Savills Chase. I just thought the race really fell apart that day, and Galopin just had so many things that went his way. But to be fair to him, the form has started to work out. Capodanno obviously won the Cotswolds Chase at Cheltenham last week, so that form got boosted. Fast or Slow, I think this should be a good test to see where we are with him. Obviously, those 2 wins have come at Punchestown, and it's hard to gauge him away from those tracks. I do think Galopin has the edge over him at Leopardstown. Galopin has always seemed to put some of his best performances up here, whereas Fast or Slow is yet to win over the course. So that is something that I would have in the back of my mind. I think if they were to meet again at Cheltenham and there wasn't much in it, I think you couldn't completely rule out Fast or Slow, even though he's not won at Cheltenham. He's run 2 really good races there. Obviously, he ran second in the Ultima last year behind Carrick Rambler, and I think he placed in he came second in one of the handicap hurdles. So you can't say he doesn't handle the track either. So I do think it would be interesting if there wasn't too much between them. Conflated maybe on his day could cause an upset. He was a big price winner of this race a couple of years ago, but Gallopin did have his measure last time out, and he was starting to fade before he unseated at the last. So yeah, I think Gallopin, yeah, it's quite obvious here. You can definitely see why he probably will reverse the form, but I'll be interested to see how fast or slow he runs, because like I say, I do think that if Gallopin only beats him, say by a few lengths, I wouldn't be certain that it would be a one way all the way for Gallopin. I think it still could be a close match in the Cheltenham Gold Cup. So that's the way I'm thinking. But
yeah, no, I think we'll see a better performance from Conflated, though. It's just a shame that it's a 4-runner race, because I think Conflated would have a big chance of kind of being in the top 2 or 3. With only 4 runners here, he probably will now. But I thought, like, if there'd be a few more in here and Conflated would still be quite a big price, I think we'd see a better showing this time around. He tried to make all, really. He was leading a lot of the way on that, in the bad ground on the inside last time out in the Savills Chase. And he just tired late on, really, and that resulted in unseating. But I think we'll see a better showing from him, but I don't think he'll get near Galloping or fast or slow.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I just have to see how he gets on. But yeah, it's only 4 runners, but at least we got the match that we wanted, and it would be good to see who comes out on top. So that's the main races on Saturday covered. We're now moving on to Sunday's action at Leopardstown, where the first race we're going to look at there is the Ladbrokes Novices Chase. It's the 110 over 2 miles 5. This is where Gaelic Warrior looks like he's going to be going. He's your even money favourite. Should say as well that we don't have the current fields at the time of recording, because they're going to be declaring on Friday, but hopefully most of them will take their chance. We then got Fact or File next in the betting at 15-8, Grange Clare West at 6-1, Corbett's Cross at 10s, American Mike 16s, along with Favre de Champerdou, Nick Rockets 20-1, and bigger are the rest. KT, Gaelic Warrior, we were speaking about it earlier. Obviously, it's a shame that he's not going for the Arkle, but he is going to turn up here, so at least we get to see him this weekend. Do we think he would be hard to beat here?
Yeah, I'd imagine he'll be hard to beat. He's a very versatile horse, so whatever the trip it is, he's going to have a big chance. He's got plenty of speed as well, and has stamina too. So, he's a real force to be reckoned with. I find it hard to know what to make of this race before we have declarations, though, because I think Fact or File is a horse on the up, and he's been very good. Grange Clare West, I'm a big fan of as well. So until we see who's actually running in it, I'd be a little bit hesitant to give my strong fancy. So we'll just have to wait and see, I think. I'm afraid. Fact or File, I don't know. Do you see him stepping up further in trip? Do you see him going over 3 miles? Because that was kind of the way I thought they were leaning with him, but it's hard to know, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he does have an entry in the Brown Advisory. It's just Willie Mullins bingo, isn't it? Trying to work out what's going on, basically.
And with Grange Clare West, I think he could cope with this trip. He ran over 2.5 at Naas earlier in the season, beating Hatwood and Corbett's Cross there, which was a really good run. But then he looked so comfortable over 3 miles at this track over the festive period, beating Corbett's Cross by 6 lengths. So I just wonder if this maybe is short enough for Grange Clare West. He'll be seen to best effect over 3 miles. So that maybe would bring that speed angle into it with Gaelic Warrior, probably take advantage of. So I'm not sure I'd be taking Gaelic Warrior on. But it depends who gets declared again. We'll just have to wait and see, won't we? Because we were pretty certain that Gaelic Warrior was going to run on Saturday before this morning. So we never know who's going to be declared with Willie.
No, exactly. The one horse that is in the race that I do think Gaelic Warrior will win, but I don't need to go into him too much. But the one horse that I'm interested in here, that if he was to run, just to see how he goes, is Mr. Policeman. I just thought last time out he really showed that he wanted to step up and trip, and he just lacked the gears for 2 miles. Obviously, he's got a bit of a big reputation from some of the stable tours earlier in the year, but I do think that he is interested in stepping up to 2.5. I just thought, like I say, he jumped a little bit slowly, made a couple of mistakes, and I just thought he just didn't have the pace to live with the likes of Quilix, over the 2 miles. So I do think stepping up in trip might bring about some improvement. He's probably not good enough to get near Gaelic Warrior, but I just would like to see how he runs. He's a horse that maybe is going to have a big race in him later down the line. But yeah, I think he's definitely one I'll be keeping an eye on to see if he gets declared tomorrow. But yeah, I do expect Gaelic Warrior to probably win this race. We're now moving on to the 140 for the Tattersalls Ireland 50th Derby Sale Novices Hurdle. Grade 1 here, won the Supreme Trials. Ballyburn is your even money favourite. We then got Farron Glory at 4-1, Sladesdale at 7s, Daddy Longlegs 12s, along with King of Kingsfield. And bigger are the rest. Katie coming back again, another Willie Mullins short price favourite. Ballyburn, have to say, he took a massive step forward last time out. He was very impressive, and with some of the races that have been run over the last week or so, he's starting to look like he could be the main contender to take the Supreme, couldn't he?
Yeah, I've always thought that Ballyburn is the perfect horse for the Ballymore or the Birmingham Bingham. I just think that trip suits him more, and he has got the speed over 2 miles, but I do really think that the middle distance is his optimum trip. So although that he has the option of both races, and the fact that he's in here, and if he runs a big race in here, then maybe he would be a supreme hope. I just really hope that he'll be going to the Ballymore either way, and I do think he'll win this because I think he's a classy horse, and it's going to be very hard to beat him. But there is a horse in here that I like, and I like for the Supreme, so I'm hoping that he runs well, and that's Daddy Longlegs. I think after the run he had last time, when it was a bit of a just non-event for him, his ground was awful, and he was never really put in the race and kind of looked after by Paul Townend. I think that coming back off that now, the best that we could probably hope for is at least a good run, really good performance, and for him to show back the form that he showed on debut for Willie Mullins. I've backed him for the Supreme at around 40-1, I think. I think he's still available at 33-1. So hopefully he puts in a good showing, shows his well-being, and then he can go to Cheltenham in good order. So I'll give him a shout, and I think he's around 12-1 for this race at the moment. So fingers crossed he's declared and he runs. But I think he's going to find it hard to beat Ballyburn. I just think he's got that little bit of edge at the moment as well, and a bit more experience too that could hold him in good stead. But hopefully Daddy Longlegs is declared and runs a good race.
Yeah, he's definitely probably would like the ground to be a little bit dry, but yeah, one to keep an eye on. One horse I thought was maybe a little bit overpriced was King of Kingsfield. He does have to probably improve again, but I think last time when he won at Leopardstown here on Boxing Day, I thought he did take a step in the right direction. He's achieved an RPI of 132, and I thought that might be slightly higher. I was really taken by the way he won that day, and the second place horse, Missouri West, has actually gone to subsequently bolt up at Ferryhouse next time out. So there is some substance to that form. He finished second in the Royal Bond behind Farron Glory. I could see him maybe reversing the form there. He's got good form with Slade still. I know he was overturned there, but I just think he has been slowly coming along, and he's kind of been learning on the job, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him run a big race. I mean, if we get more than 8 runners here and he's maybe still around about the 10-1 mark, I wouldn't put anyone off maybe having an each way bet on him. I do think he is improving, and I think he could maybe improve again. So for me, I'm going to go with King Kingsfield here, but I can definitely see why Ballyburn is at the top of the market and is probably the most likely winner. But we'll have to see who gets declared on Friday. So moving on then from that race, we're now going on to the 210. It's the Ladbrokes Dublin Chase, the Grade 1. El Fabiolo is your odds-on favourite at 4-11. We've then got Dino Blue, who's an interesting contender here at 4-1. We've then got Gentleman Demi 7s, Captain Guinness 8s, Fast or Slow, who's going for the Irish Gold Cup 25s, and Saint Bra is 40-1. Casey El Fabiolo, is this a penalty kick for him? Or I've seen 1 or 2 people saying if Dino Blue lines up, she could maybe give him something to think about. What did you think on this?
Well, she's an improving mare, and she's been in excellent form. So I can see her running well, but I think El Fabiolo is a class above. And I think Captain Guinness and Gentleman Demi also have hopes of chasing him home. Gentleman Demi has to reverse form with Dino Blue, but he is the reigning champion, so we could see him finish closer to her this time. Captain Guinness wasn't himself last time, and he was found to be clinically abnormal after being pulled up. So he's probably the most interesting of the others apart from Fabiola for me. But we've said all along that, you know, he's a really great horse, but he has his jumping frailties at times. Now he's got away with it most of the time, and he hasn't done any bad mistakes. But that's the only thing I think will probably get him beaten, is if he does make a bad mistake and then the other's able to capitalise on that. But you know, he should be an improving jumper as well, and he's a really great horse, isn't he? So yeah, I can only see him winning, really.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I always think he's always close to making a mistake. I've never been overly enamoured by his jumping. He has maybe improved a little bit last time out. I thought he jumped a little bit better. But it would be interesting to see how the tactics go out here. Will they try and make the run in with Dino Blue, or would they go forward with El Fabiolo? It'd be interesting to see how it's ridden. I think if we were going to Cheltenham, I would still like to see John Bond being ridden aggressively the way that he was ridden in the Slur Chase, because I think that's the only way he would beat Al Fabiolo, to try and put an emphasis on his jumping, because John Bond is normally a good jumper until last weekend, what we saw. So I do think that it's not quite a foregone conclusion when it comes to Cheltenham, but I do think Dino Blue is interesting, and with the mare's allowance, I wouldn't think there'd be too much between them. I do think he'll definitely give her a race, and I think maybe out of all the shorties, I do think El Fabiolo could be maybe the most vulnerable. That's just my opinion, but we'll have to see what happens. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if Dino Blue definitely had to make him work to win. So I'll definitely be probably in her camp on the day. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But yeah, I think it might not be a foregone conclusion. So that's our thoughts then on the Dublin Chase. We're now moving on to the Chanel Farmer Irish Champion Hurdle, another Grade 1. State Manager favourite here. He's 2-7 odds on favourite. We've then got Impera Pass at 4s, Bob Bollinger 8s, Echoes and Rain 16s, and Phil's Duzeris 100. Katie, State Man, is he just going to be professional again and win this?
Yeah, I think he should win. And it'll probably be Impera Pass versus Bob Bollinger for second. Impera Pass maybe will beat Bob Bollinger for speed, but I can't see them beating State Man, and I can't see Impera Pass reversing that form. Although Impera Pass is a horse that could well improve plenty. You know, he's a young horse. He's just run twice in open company over hurdles, but I didn't think he had too many excuses last time. Maybe his jumping wasn't as fluent as it should have been, and State Man pretty much got the run of the race. But I think State Man is quite straightforward, and however the race pans out, I wouldn't be jumping to take him on. I think he's a solid horse. He's the best hurdler around apart from Constitution Hill, isn't he? He's just unlucky to be bumping into him in the big championship races, but I think he'll just clean up it in Ireland in these events, and yeah, I think he'll win.
Yeah, I think it's hard to oppose him. I think Bob Bollinger is definitely interesting. He looks like a different horse this season. He won well last time out at Cheltenham. That form got boosted with Marie's Rock winning well the other day at Doncaster. So there is some substance to that form, but he would have to need to improve again, Bob Bollinger. But I do think that, yeah, if State Man turns up, runs his usual race, he's just going to be really hard to beat and probably give Willie Mullins another winner at the Dublin Racing Festival. So yeah, I think, yeah, unfortunately, folks, yeah, it's going to be straightforward and State Man is going to win. So yeah, that's our thoughts then on the main Grade 1s for the Dublin Racing Festival. Of course, there's several other races going on, including some competitive handicaps. Katie, I know you liked one in the 3 o'clock in the big handicap hurdle there on Saturday.
Yeah, I quite like the look of Canal End for Peter Fahey in the JP McManus colours. He handled the stack up and trip well when he placed behind Will Have one of Willie Mullins at Navan in December. He's up a pound now to a mark of 125. I think he's unexposed. He could be very well handicapped, and I think he'll go close. I think this could be the perfect race for him, and has been the target for him. He does have experience in big fields as well, which I like, despite it just being quite lightly raced. So I think he's going to go very close.
Okay, it's going to be Canal and for Katie. I thought this was actually a very tricky race. I thought there was cases for plenty. Fine Margin could step up after that. Good second at Haydock. We saw Crambo boost that form. Panda Boy has always got to be respected around there. Got some really good course and distance form. My main selection probably would be Goth Choil, if I can pronounce that Irish name correctly. She's been really progressive this season for Ted Walsh in some really good handicap hurdles. She won last time out at Leopardstown, and I just think there's a little bit more to come from her overstaying trips. I think she won a Shade Cosley as well last time out, so off a marker of 129, Shane O'Callaghan claiming 5, I wouldn't be at all to see her run a big race. So I think she could go up, but as I say, make cases for plenty. So that's the Dublin Racing Festival. There's also obviously some good action at Sandown on Saturday. The feature race there is the Scilly Isles, Grade 1, only 5 runners, but I thought it was quite an interesting renewal. Hermes Allen, I think, should take all the beating. I think he's miles clear on his novice hurdles form compared to some of these. I didn't think he actually ran that badly last time, but he just couldn't lay a glove on Elias Fronce in the quarter star. I think he'll be happier coming back down to this trip, and I think the race will suit as well. He's got the measure of nickel back. Le Patron as well is probably going to go forward, so it could be a bit of a pace burn up, and I could just see Harry Cobden sitting in behind tracking them, and him coming up the hill and winning quite easy actually. Katie, do you think Hermes Allen would have a good chance in the Scilly Isles?
Yeah, I think he's got a leading chance. He ran well over this trip at Newbury. When he won a Grade 2, beating Nickelback, as you mentioned, he's got that form in the book. So yeah, I think he's got a very good chance. But I was interested in Jello. Now, he was very unlucky to fall at the first at Lingfield, wasn't he? When he bumped into Matata, it was quite unfortunate. But as long as that hasn't left too much of a mark on him, I think he'll run a big race here. He's a horse that's improving, and he's quite a sound jumper. I think he'll handle the step up and trip as well. He ran over 2-3 at Ascot in December, beating Can Do Kid. I think there's probably a bit more to come from him, so he's quite interesting as well. The Patron shouldn't be discounted. He's around 7-2, 4-1 now I'm seeing, but he was much bigger yesterday or earlier today even as well, 6-1 I think he was. So he's a course and distance runner. He seems to run well at the track, and that's always a good sign because the fences can be quite unforgiving. Yeah, I think I would probably be in the camp of Jello, looking at the Patron as well. But Hermes Allen, you can't discount him, and although it's only a 5-runner field, it's quite difficult to work out, and I think you can make a case for a few of them. So it's quite a tricky race.
Yeah, I can see some of the others maybe getting involved, but for me, I do just think Hermes Allen is clearer than them, and I do think if he runs that Newbury race on his chase debut, I think he'll have the beating and the measure of all of these. There's one other horse I just wanted to talk about for Sandown, the 310 competitive handicap, 15 runners, but I thought Shamalak Leith had a good chance for Harry Durham, who's doing very well this season. Paul O'Brien bid for the ride. He came second in quite a warm race at Ascot last time out. That day he beat the likes of Transmission, who won at Plumpton next time out. That was when Joe Anderson was on, and he had that unbelievable seat. He's actually going to be much better off against Transmission, who does reoppose here, and even in that race was Wrapped Up in May, who won at Exeter yesterday. So there is some substance to that form. I think he's a progressive stayer. I think he'll want the ground to continue to dry out. There's no forecast rain, so I think the ground's probably going to be riding good to soft, and I think he's quite a hardy horse. So for me, Shamalak Leith, he's around about 10-1. I think he'll be there or thereabouts, and for me, he's probably one of my strongest fancies on the day. But that's in the 310 at Sandown. Last of all, sorry to keep you waiting. There is one more, Katie. I should have come to you. Who is it you want to talk about?
It's Fortescue in the 3:45 at Sandown in the big handicap chase there. He's already been nibbled in as well. He's come in at a couple of points. He's 12-1 currently. Hugh Nugent on board, claiming £3 off a mark of 137. thought he ran really well at Haydock last time out, carrying top weight in heavy ground. He was giving away £27 to the eventual winner, Robin Zone, for Venetia Williams. Stayed on really well, and it can get so testing at Haydock. I think it was a very impressive performance, and I've been watching him for a while now. He ran quite well at Chepstow before that too in heavy ground, when he was rated £2 higher. I think this could be a nice opportunity for him. Winning form at Sandown as well, so he'll cope with the track, and I think he's got a great chance. I think he's off a handy mark. He's a strong stayer. He's a really likeable horse, plenty of experience, so I'm quite keen on his chances each way.
Okay, that's one to watch then in the Masters Handicap Chase of 3:45 at Sandown. So that's all we've got time for this week. Hopefully Katie has a good weekend at the Dublin Racing Festival. Hopefully we found you plenty of winners as well. Remember to subscribe to all the podcast platforms. We're available on Soundcloud, Spotify, Apple, and also available to listen to on YouTube. Follow us on social media, Twitter and Instagram @InTheSaddlePod. Please remember to gamble responsibly, and we'll be seeing you again soon.